Venture firm Andreessen Horowitz is doubling down on its American Dynamism thesis and practice, adding defense and space investor and former Army captain Connor Love to the team. And Connor joins us now, joining from Lightspeed. It's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Day one. You're very welcome. Day one on American Dynamism. Reading about your investments at the last firm and like how you've approached your career, you would call it American exceptionalism, right? But there's a close alignment between those two ideas. Just reflect on what it was that prompted you to join this firm.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for having me. We're in a pretty amazing opportunity right now to invest really in the fabric of America. And when Mark and Ben and team kind of approached me, look, this is a category that 4 years ago, they didn't jump on the bandwagon. They said, hey, this is important to the fabric of America. This is important for the entrepreneurs and the technology future for our nation. And when given that opportunity, you kind of have to get on board and join the team. So it's been amazing, so far just to dive in and get to know everyone. I think in the end, when you take a step back and just look at the opportunity here. As I said before, what's happening is a once-in-a-generation opportunity where we're redefining what it really means to build in America. It's not just software primitives. I mean, it's things that are core to the fabric of America. It's defense technology, it's energy, it's many things. And so to join a team like Andreessen Horowitz and kind of continue to invest in back entrepreneurs in this ecosystem, I'm just really thrilled and excited to be able to do it.
Connor, do you mind if I ask a bit more about the backstory? You mentioned Mark Andreessen, Ben Horowitz, that they approached you. How did this all come together?
It's actually funny. One of the partners in founders of American Dynamism, Catherine Boyle, I actually spoke to her about 7 years ago. I had the privilege of serving in the military and was actually forward deployed in Iraq, looking for what the next opportunity was in my professional career. And I connected with her really in just kind of a haphazard out of the blue way. And she said, hey, there's this company called Anduril. You should look at Anduril. Obviously, everyone knows what Anduril is these days. But I think importantly, I just got exposed to Silicon Valley. And I saw then what I know now, that really technology will be a force for good. Not just for the defense fabric of our nation, as I mentioned, but also just you can't have an industrial base in America if you don't have a burgeoning defense base. So it's to me a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that is very much rooted in my background and just happens to connect at 3 in the morning with Catherine Boyle at when she was then at her previous firm.
You've explained it right, that it's not exclusively defense technology. American Dynamism is broader than that. But right now, Anduril is the best-known case study.
Yeah.
Right? Saronic more recently in the news cycle. What is the next phase of American Dynamism, do you think, Connor?
Yeah, well, I put it in that lens, which is you really cannot have a defense industrial base without an industrial base. And when you look into what goes into these autonomous systems, these new platforms, it's really the subcomponents. It's really the parts. It's really the metal and the end components of what's going on. So when I think you take a step back and you look at, hey, obviously defense, we're creating a new opportunity for neoprimes to really capture and serve not just the United States but also our allies. You see things like energy. You see things like core manufacturing. Importantly, you see things like space. Yes, there's a huge defense component to space, but as we put more kilograms of mass up to space in a lot cheaper way, really it is kind of the next frontier of where we're going to be building, not just for defense and kind of government use cases, but all other parts of the economy. So I think when I take a step back and I look at American Dynamism, as we call it now, I actually just view it as it's a proxy for how some of the most valuable companies in the world are created. I mean, historically, you look at Boeing. Historically, you look at all these companies that have been important to America. They've been very important to the American individual, but they necessarily have not always been the most valuable companies. Technology is changing that. Technology is saying you can be both important to America and our allies and be some of the most valuable companies in the world. And that's what we and myself at Andreessen Horowitz are really excited to invest into.
Anduril is a big focus for the Bloomberg Tech audience. You will have seen the news this morning with Archer finally showing the autonomous VTOL platform. I think what would be interesting is to, you participated in Lightspeed's Anduril investment. Anduril clearly important part of the American Dynamism and A16Z more broadly portfolio. How are you going to approach that?
Yeah. Well, I think I will say a couple things about Andrew. The first thing is when you think they've got to their last product, you're wrong. There's another product. And I think the beauty is when you have such a complex use case that is the kind of Department of War and the American warfighter, there are a lot of problems that need to be solved. So to see this kind of partnership with Archer, I think is only net good for the American warfighter and the American public. I think when you take a step back and say, really this market is massive. I mean, there are a lot of problems to be solved in the defense space. I mean, there's everything from missiles and what Castillion's doing to ground autonomy systems. I mean, it is really a massively large market where there's actually a ton of technology problems to be solved below it. I think the underlying substrate that I think is important and what we look at, and Andreessen and I've looked at in the past, is really what's happening in defense is this low-cost autonomy thesis. That is just, it's playing out in the battlefield. Go look at what Saronics done in kind of the conflict in Iran. Go look at the front battlefield of Ukraine. When you can introduce something that is literally 10 times cheaper and as performant and in mass, it really changes the game in terms of deterrence and what you can do for our nation. So I think, again, you take a step back, the market's big, and I think there's going to be a ton of opportunity.
Kind of really quick, you mentioned Catherine and Erin, regular contributors to the show, but with you, somebody joined the team that is a veteran. Just in the 30 seconds we have, would you reflect on that a little bit, the skill set and experience you bring? Yeah, I mean, there are more impressive people that have done some pretty amazing things for our country that I want to put in front of me. I do think, though, that time of service really just grounds me in why we are doing this. Like I said at the start, importantly, this is a category where you're not just doing good economically, but I do believe you're doing good for the world and for the American public. So having worn that uniform puts me in a position just to take a step back and say, hey, this means a lot, not just for our shareholders and for everyone backing Andreessen, but also for America. So I'm deeply thankful, and I'm going to keep doing it for decades.